Rumour has it that Shimano are going to be releasing a new group set next year. Now, this video is basically my opinion on things that they need to do to keep up with the industry, some things that I would like to see, and some things I think they're likely to do that don't bother me personally that much. One thing to remember before we go into this video, guys, I am not an engineer, so I don't know about the feasibility of all of these things, but I certainly am a consumer, and I know what I would like. Kicking it off with thing number one, and I think the thing they have to upgrade first is a power meter. Now, Shimano do their own power meters, but well, historically, the kindest way I can put it is they've just been inaccurate, which for a massive company with Shimano that have all of those resources isn't great. I think this is one thing they do have to get right on their next group set. Of course, there's lots of third-party options, but sometimes you just want to buy the group set with a power meter that works. In my opinion, they should have bought stages. You know, stages were practically going bust. I think they should have taken them up and made them their default power meter, just like SRAM have with Quark. Quark power meters are so good. They're reliable, robust, and they're accurate. So I think this is the first thing that Shimano needs to sort out on their next group set. Next up for me is lightening up the crank. Now, the Dura Ace crank and the Ultegra crank they're like exactly the same weight. And with that, it's still very heavy when you compare it to competitors, especially with the Chinese market coming out now, like Cybre, Majin, XKV, they all do cranks that are like 150 grams lighter than the Dura Ace crank set. 150 grams is no small amount of weight, so I think they've got an easy weight saving there. Next up, this kind of like hollow tech that they've been going for, like the lightweight aluminium. Obviously they have a history of it, well, not going too well. Well, they basically bond two sides of the crank together. So I think realistically they could lighten up this crank quite a lot. Probably go to carbon for Dura Ace. They could probably stick to aluminium for Ultegra. But I think to be competitive, they need to decrease the weight here quite a lot. Next up, what I want to see changed is on the shifters here. Now, it's actually not the space under here, I will come to that, but the top shifter buttons. On Shimano, you have two buttons on top here, and you can probably see where it's made out just there. Now these, not only are they kind of in an awkward position, like no one really wants to lift their thumb. You can see how much my tendon's straining there just to reach it. The only time I actually use it is when I'm in the dropped hoods position here. So I'd never use it when I'm on top of the hoods, but yeah, as soon as my elbows are dropped, then I find it's quite easy to access, but really, you're lifting quite a lot of hand off the shifter to press the button, which, well, when you're in a down position and you're in the UK where there's loads of bumps trying to kick you off, it's not the safest thing in the world. You don't have the most grip on the hoods when you're trying to press the buttons. So realistically, I would like to see them moved from the top of the shifter to a slightly better position where SRAM actually have them on the inside of the thumb here, where it's going to be much easier just to tap that button with your thumb. And even when you're here, it should still be accessible by the thumb there rather than have to lift all the way off. I want it there. Next up, sticking with the shifters, one thing SRAM have done really well, or two things really. The first one is how much space they have underneath here. Realistically, I am like 3 fingers at max on this thing, and even that's starting to feel fairly claustrophobic underneath the shifter. Whereas SRAM, you can quite happily fit all 4 fingers. You see that's a struggle there. It's just nice to have that space underneath, makes the shifter hood feel really good. Is there a way you can do that without adding that much length? I'm not so sure, but it's one thing I would quite like to have, to be honest. Now, I admit I give SRAM a lot of criticism about their group set, but another thing that they've done really well and have overtaken Shimano is the brake feel. When you go back to the Shimano shifters here, they don't have a heavy lever throw, but when you compare it to the SRAM you could literally be braking with your little finger, and it makes it feel really easy, whereas it feels like a bit hard work on the Shimano one. So kind of like that classic, like, you know, you want that one finger braking. I would like that from Shimano as well. It's an area that SRAM has done really well, and I want Shimano to catch up on this one. next upgrade I want to see is I want Shimano to lighten up their cassettes a little bit. Or if they're not going to make it lighter, probably increase the durability of the cassette. Now personally, on my previous bike, with of course a waxed chain, I managed to get 35,000 kilometers out of the Dura-Ace cassette, which is, well, pretty damn good for a titanium cassette. And of course, part of that is down to the chains not wearing much because of the wax. But realistically, I think for a titanium cassette, it could be lighter or it could be the same weight by being more durable. I think they should choose one and upgrade one of these. Now, the ways that I think that they can do this, a Shimano cassette, as you can probably see on this one, apart from the top 3 cogs at the back here, which are still separate pieces, every single cog here is a separate piece. They could save a lot of weight just by machining this out more. Now, of course, this is going to make it more expensive to make, but it's Dura-Ace. It's supposed to be more expensive and it's supposed to be the best and the most lightweight tech. For Ultegra, I do not mind the solution at all. Add a bit of weight, save the price, decrease the complexity. Next up here, the one that everyone talks about first is 13 speed cassettes. We are of course currently on 12 speed from Shimano, with currently only Campagnolo on a 13 speed group set for a road group set. Now, every time they add another gear, it kind of feels like, do I need another gear? And technically no, but it is better in my opinion. Now, my logic being is that on the cassette at the back here, if you're adding another speed, you can always just add a bigger cassette at the back without sacrificing that kind of jump between gears. So it's easier to find the right cadence for you still. But it just makes the group set more versatile for me. I can keep the same group set on and go to the mountains, the same group set on and ride along the flats. The gear's there when I need it. And yeah, you're kind of lugging it around when you don't need it. But those bigger gears, the extra weight doesn't make a difference on the flats anyway, so I still think there's benefits. Basically, I like the extra speed for just going bigger at the back each time without adding jumps in between the gears. Now, the next thing that's always spoken about, wireless shifting. Now, I've got my girlfriend's SRAM bike out here because obviously the batteries are housed in the derailleurs themselves. Now, this is one thing I really do not need on a group set. Where I think it is really good in Shimano is the wireless shifters to the group set. But then actually I prefer a wired system because now I only have one area to charge up, not 2. Now, once again, it isn't really too much of a faff, and if you are buying these higher end group sets, you probably have a head unit, and you can always see on there, you're always going to know when your battery's running low, or well, if you have it on your main screen like I do. I've never ever once ran out of batteries on my electronic group set. You know, SRAM users always go, well, if your rear runs out, you can swap it with your front and stuff like that. Yeah, never been a problem for me. But the next reason I don't want to see it is because of just how bulky the front derailleur is. Now, the rear derailleur, I think I've actually done quite well to make it not very bulky at all. But yeah, the front is absolutely massive. And the SRAM one is smaller than the Campagnolo one. Let me just put this in front of there for you. Look at the size difference of that. Look at the size difference. That SRAM derailleur is so bulky. I would quite like to keep the battery internally on the frame because yeah, it keeps this front derailleur just so much smaller than the SRAM systems. And I think when you've got a size difference that much, aerodynamically, you're probably talking about, I don't know, 2 or 3 watts maybe, if I'm just guessing here. I mean, yeah, the difference is absolutely night and day with the size of them. I just think this has so much less frontal area. The next disadvantage that would come from Shimano going to fully wireless is the battery systems. Now, SRAM, somehow this is a thing. They have patented the fact that you can have the same battery on the front and the rear derailleur. That's insane. I have no idea who accepted that at the patent office, but how is that a thing? So yeah, that just means if Shimano do go fully wireless, they're gonna have to have different batteries for the front and the rear. It's gonna make the front way bulkier, and it's just gonna be a less sleek system overall, in my opinion. the next thing that they might do, I'm not totally bothered about this one, but I can definitely see the benefits, is a universal derailleur hanger. Now, of course, major advantages going forward, like with one hanger, when the industry standardizes something, innovation as a whole is better. Look how good tires have got just because of the standard 700C wheel, as an example. So I think standardization will be good there. Apparently the shifting is better because you're attached like a more rigid system. I don't know if that's true. I've never actually used UDH. So this is one of those things where I don't mind if they do it. I don't mind if they don't. With that being said, some of you might want it more than I do. Finally, the last thing we could talk about is better shifting. Now, in my opinion, Shimano is still, not by any small margin, the class leader in the group sets for shifting. That front derailleur is so quick, and the rear derailleur hits, sometimes I hit the button and I have to look down to check if it's changed gear because I just couldn't feel it happen. It happened so quickly. So I don't think they really need to make much improvements, but you know, if they do, I'm not gonna complain. So guys, there's my video. Some things I personally would like Shimano to improve upon on their next group set. And then a little bit of a ramble on some things that I think they could do that don't really bother me too much personally. Anyway guys, do you have any opinions on this and stuff like that? Feel free to chuck them in the comments below. I reply to pretty much most things. You can also find my general daily shenanigans on Instagram over here. But other than that, I've been Jason. This has been Cycling Unboxed. Catch you in another video.